Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. As promised, we are moving right along in our Alchemist guide today, taking a look at the most important part for any Alchemist build, whether you're going with your Junkrat-styled bomber character, your Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde mutagenic creature, or just a mix of the two, or any other strange combinations of things that you might be able to come up with. Discoveries are going to allow you to really start to customize and differentiate your character from other Alchemist builds. Now, just to start off here, this particular guide is especially for these discoveries. I'm not doing any third-party discoveries, any third-party abilities really at all, for the most part. Third-party abilities are kind of hit or miss. Some are broken in a way that are useless, some are broken in a way that's overpowered, others are just kind of, they hit a nice middle ground there, but I don't know. I've never been a big fan of a lot of the third-party stuff, so, just fair warning, this is going to be primarily what is found in the larger source books. Just, yeah. At any rate, you can find out more information about this at the website I'd listed before over at the Paizo boards and the like. I'll post a link down in the description below. But let's get rolling on with this now, shall we? So, with discoveries, you're going to get your first one at 2nd level. And then you get one every 2 levels from thereafter up to 18. And then once you hit level 20, you get your Grand Discovery, which gives you 2 regular discoveries, as well as your Capstone ability, which is one of the Grand Discoveries. None of them are really bad, per se, but, there's definitely some that are better than others. And, of course, going with a more optimized guide, we went with the better option out of the bunch. Start us off here. For the first discovery that you pick out at level 2, I highly recommend Precise Bomb, what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to select which squares around your target don't get the splash damage. So this is really going to help out if any of your allied players are in melee, or any NPCs that might be friendly towards you and helping you out. You can chuck your bombs with a bit more impunity and not have to worry about damaging any friendlies. They're really going to thank you for this, especially as you level up further. Next up, I mentioned before that fire damage is one of the most commonly resisted and most common immunities amongst a lot of NPCs you're going to be facing. So you're going to want to switch up damage type, and generally the sooner the better. And since this one will come in at level 4, I recommend Frost Bomb. This will let you do cold damage with your bombs rather than the basic fire, and the targets that you hit need to make a fortitude save or be staggered, and having that staggered effect on your opponents as a debuff is really nice, especially early on. This is not only helping you up your damage potential by giving you a different damage type, but you start afflicting your opponents with status effects early on. Now, for your level 6 discovery, I highly recommend Cognatogen, which turns your mutagen to a cognatogen, and so you will be trading your strength for your intelligence bonus. This will give you a -2 penalty to your strength for a +4 bonus to your intelligence. You're also going to get a +2 natural armor bonus out of this, but the most important thing is, since your intelligence is going up by 4 points, you're increasing your damage by 2 for all of your bombs, and you're getting 2 extra bombs out of it for the day, which is just fantastic. All the way around, you're bumping up the minimum amount of damage you're doing, and you're increasing the potential damage you're doing with 2 extra bombs. But then we come around to level 8, and this is when you're really going to start to see your damage potential skyrocket, and that's with Fast Bomb. You can make bombs fast enough to throw in a round for as many attacks as you have, which will count as a full round action. So if you don't have to move, you don't have to adjust your positioning or do any other things like handing out extracts to people or downing potions yourself, you can just start chucking bombs as fast as possible. If you have to if you have to do anything else, you can still throw one, and with some of the other feats involved, you can still bump that out to just maybe 1 or 2 more. But, this is where you're really going to see things skyrocket. Now, I would recommend that you do kind of pace yourself just a little bit, just because if it feels like maybe based on your best intuition, best guess, depending on what the scenario is, that maybe you're going to be facing a lot of fights throughout the day, maybe not use up all of your bombs. Start mixing in some acid flasks or daggers coated with poison. Or if you're in a setting that has gunpowder, maybe see if you can't just mix in some grenades with it. Maybe you're not going to be able to do fast bomb, but you're still going to have multiple attacks. Grenades and other bombs and the like are going to be affecting an area, so you're not really worried about touch armor class or even just armor class in general. You're worried about having your opponents make reflex saves, so that can be a way for you to kind of not have to spend all of your specialized bombs. But, again, that just depends. Going off from there, we have infusions. Now, this is going to be coming in at level 10 for you, and your infusions are going to allow your extracts, which are your spells, the various potions that you make, you can make those available for use by others. You no longer have to be holding on to them. You negate any of that rules as written stuff, so you can just pass things along and help supply extra buffing, extra healing, anything else that needs to be shorn up and taken care of. And, by the way, continuing on with our goal of diversifying our damage types and outputs, we move on to Force Bomb. Now, Force Bombs are going to drop your damage output a little bit by bumping it from a D6 down to a D4 for your bombs, but you're dealing just concussive force damage, just that physical impact, which it really can't be resisted. I don't believe there's anything with resistance to it. And this goes up by 1d4 for every odd numbered level. So, by level 3, you're doing 2d4, and so on and so forth. And when you hit with this, targets have to make a reflex save or be knocked prone. And having them knocked prone is really useful because you're denying a lot of their dexterity bonus. They're not really going to be able to make a whole lot in the way of reflex saves, so you're going to make them incredibly vulnerable. But moving on from there, we come around to these sticky bombs. Sticky bombs are fun, and again, this is another point where you're going to be upping your damage potential, because the bomb effects are going to persist for one more round, so targets will be taking splash damage another round later. Anything else that has other delayed effects are delayed another additional round, if that's something that happens. So, and this is something that will stack with your other bombs. So you can stack this with acid bombs, force bombs, cold bombs, and have those effects kick in one round later. And again, that damage potential is really nice. But then after that, we have a really interesting one with Madness Bomb. This one does reduce your damage by 2d6, but you start doing ability damage. Specifically, you're doing 1d4 points of wisdom damage. This also stacks with other bomb types, and if you're targeting one person, one target, one creature, and you hit them with multiple madness bombs, well, this is where the drawback comes in for this specific ability. You're going to be reducing the wisdom damage by 1 point down to a minimum of 1 point of damage. So, first bomb, you get that full 1d4. Second bomb, 1d4 minus 1. Third bomb, 1d4 minus 2. So you still have a range of damage you can be doing, but it is going to get reduced. But anytime you're hitting, you're going to do at minimum 1 point of wisdom damage at any given time. So you hit them with 4 bombs, it's still going to be a respectable amount of damage, and with the wisdom damage, you're at minimum going to be taking down their wisdom score by 4 points. Probably a little bit more than that, and where that gets to be interesting is that this really syncs up nicely with other character classes like the witch, or wizards, or illusionists, bards even, using any sort of illusion spells, or anything that requires a will save. So if you're facing a character that has a significant will score, say The big bad has levels of cleric, and of course, being clerics, their wisdom score is pumped up a little bit. This is going to help reduce that a fair bit there. And really, really nice to have. It's going to make the target more vulnerable to what the other players are doing. So the teamwork and synergy there, really, really nice. And next up here, we have the Holy, Anarchic, Axiomatic, and Profane bomb types. Now, I kind of lumped these all together here because really which one of these you select is going to depend a lot on the campaign and the types of enemies you're facing. Essentially what these are going to do for you is you're going to be able to deal damage to opposite alignments, creatures with opposite alignments, and force a fortitude save on them or have them be staggered. At these levels, since we're hitting about 18 here, at these levels overcoming damage reduction is going to be important, and a lot of creatures are going to have damage reduction, like taking 10 points off the top of any damage you do, unless the weapon is holy or evil or lawful. So making your bombs be in line with one of these alignment steps is going to help to overcome that. But it's at least one part that you're helping to overcome, and maybe the wizard or the cleric can help provide some enchantments or effects to help overcome any other parts, like you need a holy silver weapon to cause damage. But that's getting into more specifics. Point is, these are incredibly useful, but it depends on the type of enemies you're facing, so pick and adjust as needed. Now, one that I put in here, the Blinding Bomb. Blinding Bomb can actually come in earlier, but the others just seem to make more sense to me. You want those diversified damage types. You want those different effects like the Madness Bomb, Sticky Bomb. The infusions are incredibly helpful as well too, because it allows you to have just a little bit of support capability there to assist with the other players, help shore up areas that need a little bit of strengthening. But the Blinding Bomb is an effect that does stack with other bombs. The target has to make a fortitude save or be blinded for 1 minute. And that 1 minute is really, really handy there, and having blinding down on a target as a debuff is devastating. And creatures that are caught in the splash, they won't be blinded, but they're going to be dazzled for 1 minute. So that's another, it's not as good as blinded, but it's a solid debuff to have there. Inflicting any penalties on opponents is great. You mix this in with things like Cold Bomb, where you could be staggering the target. Well, that's 2 status effects that you're inflicting on top of doing damage. So this is incredible to have there. And like I said, you can swap and move some of these around as needed. It just depends on what is going to be most useful to you in the campaign that's being run. Now, after that, last but not least, we come up to our grand here I went with is the Philosopher's Stone. Really, Philosopher's Stone, at least from a mechanics benefit standpoint, is probably going to be the prime pick overall. You can make this only once per month, but a Philosopher's Stone is a minor artifact that you're churning out once every month. It takes you 1 entire day to make it, but once you crack it open, you can turn 5,000 pounds of iron into an amount of silver equal to 25,000 gold pieces, or 1,000 pounds of lead into 50,000 gold pieces worth of, gold. Not only that, but you can take the fluid inside a Philosopher's Stone and mix it with any cure potion to make an oil of true resurrection. If you don't understand how good that is, well, true resurrection allows you to bring a dead person back without any penalties, negatives, pardon me, any penalties or negatives. So this is really, really good to have, and you can do this once a month. Technically, it's just something you can make. For me, from a DM perspective, I'd at least require you to have some kind of materials that you need to buy for it. Maybe not 50,000 gold pieces worth or even 25,000 gold pieces worth, but you're gonna expend like 1,000, 2,000 gold pieces to be able to make a minor artifact. But really, that's just me throwing on something there, because there's got to be something going into it. But even with that, this is still incredible to have. This is essentially, for all intents and purposes, free money for the rest of your life, as well as free resurrections. So you're going to be an incredible asset to your party at this level. I mean, a level 20 Alchemist paired up with a level 20 Witch would be terrifying to see on the battlefield. But if that were all when it came to discoveries, I'd feel like I'd be falling a little bit short. And given the variety of discoveries available here, I felt it pertinent to offer up a couple of different options that you could throw out there. And possibly even switch out at different points, depending, again, on what exactly you need to have happen and what you want to have happen with this character. And all of these, I think, are incredible choices so far, if you can't tell from how I've graded the various ability rankings. There's certainly many, many more there that you can look up very easily. Again, links down in the description below. But first and foremost, we have the Void Bomb. Now, this is available at level 6, and it's normally just limited to Drow, but I don't really see why. I mean, the flavor description says, it's the void bombs are made from materials assembled down in the Underdark with strange fungal spores mixed into these weird alchemical properties and arcane magics, but I mean, you could rewrite this however which way. Personally, I recommend DMs, you just ignore this unless it's really, really imperative to you that only Drow be able to do this. What it does is it's a burst of gravity that deals 1d4 damage plus 1d4 for every 2 Alchemist levels after first, so every odd numbered level. And the damage that this does is bludgeoning damage, so it's a physical damage. It also forces reflex saves, or the target's knocked prone and is unable to get up for 1 round. Other creatures that are in the splash zone have to make reflex saves or have their movement reduced to 5 feet for 1 round. This is pretty incredible. I mean, you are taking a little bit of a hit to the damage output, but for battlefield control, especially since if you're throwing like 3, 4, 5 void bombs in a round and just kind of spreading that around a little bit, you can be reducing a lot of movement scores and knocking a number of creatures prone. Well, 3, 4, or 5. You'll knock 4 or 5 creatures prone. And again, you're hitting their touch armor class. You're not attacking their full AC. You're just doing touch, and whatever's in the splash damage is... Well, splash damage is just getting hit there with this. Reflex save to avoid having their movement reduced. But if you can't see why this is incredible, I don't know how to spell it out more for you. This is doing damage and has some incredible battlefield control, and you're limiting your opponent's movement. Stack this together with other effects like the sticky bomb, or there are discoveries out there that increase the explosive range of the bombs. You can mix those two together, and that mixes particularly well with the void bomb having a wider area of effect. I mean, increasing the splash damage size, incredible, especially coupled with precise bomb. You don't have to worry about your allies getting sucked into this, just whoever's nearby that you want to designate. So again, really, really interesting and really, really useful combos to be had here. The other option is the Eternal Potion option. This one's not available until level 16, and you need to have the Extend Potion discovery. But what this does is it will, any potion effect that you extend becomes permanent on you until you decide to make another potion permanent. So use a potion to boost your intelligence score. Normally temporary effect, but now it's permanent, so you have another +2 points of damage to your bombs and another 2 bombs to boot. And you can switch this out whenever. Because you have the brew potion feat, you can make an array of different potions. Sure, it's a bit expensive, but if you're at this level, you might not be too far off from hitting level 20 and having that Philosopher's Stone going. The Philosopher's Stone renders the fact that potions are one of the most expensive ways to get extra magic effects entirely moot. So, go nuts, go hog wild with this. Have different potions ready to go that you want to make permanent on yourself. I mean, there's a variety of different tactical applications for this, but it's going to be hard to beat getting more damage and more bombs to do more damage. And last but not least on this alternate list is the Tumor Familiar. Now this one is available immediately at level 2. And you gain a familiar with this with the same rules as the Wizard's Familiar, and this allows you to deliver your extracts as touch spells. And you get the bonuses that the familiar normally provides. So if it gives you a bonus to alertness, you get a bonus to your perception and the like. Bonuses to initiative, you still get that with this as well. But the interesting thing with this is that the familiar will look like it has to be diminutive or tiny to start with, and it's going to look like the creature, but it's a tumor. It's a tumor that you have grown on your body that can attach and detach at will. When it's attached to you, it gains fast healing of 5. In order to really make this one work, though, you need the infusion ability, so that way the effects of your extracts can go to other creatures. It's just the possibilities with Tumor Familiar are incredible. I mean, this is about on par with fast bombs for how useful this is. This is useful to melee built alchemists. This is useful to the Mad Bomber alchemists because now you don't necessarily have to be close to your allies in order to give them the effects of the potions. You can just drink it, channel it through your Tumor Familiar, and just have it touch them, and boom, you've dropped the effect on them. Really, 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 really good to have. And there's so many interesting and really useful familiars out there. It's hard to say which one's going to be best, but anything that gives you bonuses to initiative, incredible. Anything that has hands and the like, anything can pick up bombs with you, carry potions around, use wands, going to be incredibly useful for you. This increases your combat potential immensely. This increases your utility potential immensely. I mean, it's hard to understate the Tumor Familiar's usefulness. By all rights, it probably should be on the other list, and it certainly can be easily enough with the Grand Discovery allowing you to take 2 more discoveries. You can throw this in there at any point in that list pretty easily and come out with a really, really strong character. I just opted to focus more on just maximizing our ability with bombs, but this will also do that pretty readily. This leans more... I'll admit this leans a bit more into the not just optimizing, but a certain amount of min-maxing. But, it's flavorful enough. I certainly think this fits well for an alchemist. And really, I wouldn't complain too much if a player wanted to go this particular route. I think this is actually an incredibly cool ability. It's fitting. Like I said, it's packed with that right kind of flavor and style that just fits the alchemist. This is a good get all the way around. But, like I said before, these are not the only options. There are certainly plenty more out there that are just packed and loaded with all kinds of interesting abilities that, mechanically, mathematically just don't quite stack up. But they have that certain sense of style and panache and that flavor that just fits the alchemist. So, comment down below. What are some discoveries that you really like? Is there anything on the list that I missed that you think would work really well here? And certainly there's other damage types like the acid bomb. There's even, there are dispelling bombs and the like too, but, dispelling doesn't really do much in the way of damage on its own. It just has dispel magic as its effect, which is a useful debuff, but I don't know. There's just some other things here that just seem to really work well and better overall, I think. But with that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all very much for your time, and you folks have yourselves a good night.